Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibes. I'd like to welcome here Chuck Rosenthal, who is an author. And from what I understand, you're a cowboy turned professor. So we're going to get to know a little bit more about him and have a great conversation. Chuck, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I didn't really go from cowboyship to professorship, but I did go to cowboyship while I was a professor, and I learned a bit. I did a lot of cowboy things. I didn't get on a horse till I was 45 years old. I fell into an amazing, fiery, difficult mare, and over working with her every day for 10 years. Um, she fell in love with me finally, and she was a magnificent horse, and that's something that taught me so much about dealing with difficulties, dealing with people, getting through things, and how persistence and perseverance and paying attention uh, and not giving up really pays off. So that's a major part of my personality. Earlier, you mentioned that you knew I had been sexually, and that's one of the ways I've gotten through it, by writing and writing every day and having faith that I can produce good things and overcome problems. So that's something about myself. But I am an educated person. I quit school and went back to working things like collecting garbage back in the days when we had dump trucks. And I learned a lot from that too. But and I worked in the Boys and Girls Clubs as a gym instructor. I played basketball in college, so I was a pretty good athlete. I regretted the time I spent in athletics and wish I'd spent it more in the arts, but looking back, less and less so. And particularly, I'm looking at the rise of women's sports and how much it's been doing for the lives of women and lessons for young girls. And I'm saying, well, sports is a good thing. It can be a good thing. It can teach you discipline and really teach you how to work with other people and again, overcome difficulties. Life is difficult a lot. Most of it is overcoming difficulties and concentrating very hard and enjoying it. So I have been a professor. I taught at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles for over 30 years. Taught some literature and creative writing and ways about deep how to write. I did study a lot. I got a master's in philosophy and then sociological theory, and then I went for a Ph.D. in philosophy and abandoned it because it was not how I wanted to spend my time. I loved reading what these great people thought, but I didn't want to turn around and be writing about them. I wanted to be more creative. So I went back to my hometown, Erie, PA, which is currently buried under about 4 feet of snow. I'm getting images on Facebook, and I've been there when it did that. And some people take great pride in it. I found it a great bane. When I got I went back to my hometown and began writing, and that's when I decided that I'd be better off somewhere else and writing. So I went to writing school, and it was okay. Uh, that's it. But even so, education is tough, and it can really become rigid and trap you and keep you from growing. So you have to take what the advantages it has, the things that opportunities it gives you, but not have it destroy your personality and your creativity. It can be rigid, but so I'm not an advocate or a disadvocate of education. My daughter dropped out of high school and moved to Australia and is now a celebrity performer. So,
Wow.
yeah. So heck, if again, if you're smart and talented and pursue things, they can happen. And as right, it took me this is my 20th book and my 15th novel, so I've been at this for a long time. And I'd like to think I've gotten better. This one's when I wrote this book, I finished it and said, yes, yep, I did it. this is a good one, and I think I think it is. The others are pretty, are pretty good too. But this clicked, and then I had to rewrite this book. That's the other thing, right? The most important thing about the first draft is without it, you can't rewrite it. So, is that enough about me? I don't know.
Oh, you keep going, man. You keep going. No,
As what was it the feminists were saying back in the day? So that's about me. What more do you need to know about me?
well, in your novels, is there a roundabout lesson in each one of them?
Well, I have my dispositions. You're. I don't try. I don't advocate or argue for anything on the page. So I'm a romantic writer.
Mhm.
I believe in the heart and the imagination, and my content tends to be fantastical. I'm there's enough reality is horrible, and I think there's some people that should be trying to portray it in different ways, but more explicit ways or real ways, using their writing as a window to reality. But I don't find my writing to be that, so I want my writing to take off and explore the universe of the imagination. How's that for a line? And in that, you know, you have the ability to touch everyone. My values, I think, are apparent, but I don't. Again, I don't try to transmute them, and I try to concentrate on that thing I'm doing. Let my characters guide the way. Follow them into the story. Don't let my ideas get in the way. Let the book take over. Find out what I'm trying to say and what story I'm trying to tell. Um, so in that way, I'm not a crusader for the imagination. I know some people have suggested that I've written this book in order to attract or turn around the, you know, that generation. And I didn't. Even in the classroom, I didn't impose. They wanted to use their computers. They wanted to go on their cell phones. Go ahead. And I have to offer what I have to offer, and I'm not crusading. But I think, I know lots of kids that are into video games and really into video games, and some of them are pretty good. Some of them are pretty interesting. And in fact, I know one young man who's won awards, international awards through video games. My daughter in Australia plays them, has always played them, and learned to play them, here. And I didn't worry that she would become, you know, a stupid, ignorant person. In fact, she went on and got a master's in the performance arts in Australia. So,
Wow.
people they come to their own. And that, in some of this book, I did try to write this book, the main character, Beatrice, who goes into a basement, encounters the ghost of Mary Shelley, who guides her through poignant moments in the lives of John Keats, Percy Bysshe Shelley, um, Lord Byron, and by implication, Mary Shelley and herself. And as she learns, if you know the romantics, you'll enjoy what she's learning. And if you don't, you're going to learn along with her. She's a guide for the reader, and she serves as a guide for the reader into these worlds, because these were fantastic people. They were the first rock stars. They're the rock stars of the early 1800s, and people knew, and everybody in the West knew Lord Byron. Boy, was it fun to read him? I got to read. That's the nice thing about being a novelist and not a scholar, is I got to read lots of people, and got turned on. I said to tell this story, got turned on to this when I was in London teaching fun stuff, Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland, and boy, uh, and having a fun time. But it was also very nervous because I was coming off radiation, and I got to England the day after my radiation ended, So you know what radiation's about. Um, I would wake up at night and I would go to a bay window that overlooked the street and watch the people in the double-decker buses. And I would have a glass of port and I would read William Blake. And that, whoa, talk about an imagination, those drawings and the words. And that's when I got turned on to the romantics. And when I got back and now I go to his painting shows and anytime I could do the William Blake, I do it. And my life partner said to me, um, "You want to read the Romantics?" And she goes up to her office and comes down with a pile of books about a foot high. And she said, "This is all the works of Keats and Shelley and Byron. Um, Start reading." And and I did. Back when I wanted to be a poet, I had a very famous poet say to me, I went to him and said, "I want to be a poet." And he handed me, a stack of anthologies and said, "Okay, start reading." No, tell me the answer, tell me how to do it. Don't make me learn anything. So, anyways, then I read all the biographies, and I had all these books open at my feet when I finally got nervous and wanted to start it, the book, and I could just reach down there and pull that stuff up, and I wrote in pencil, longhand in a notebook. Um, and that was slow and interesting thing to do. So when I went back, I had to rewrite. Literally, I couldn't just look at what I put on the screen and think about it. I had to write it down. That was a real good lesson too. I don't know what I don't know where I'm going with any of this or where I came from, but but I so this was a struggle. It's the shortest book I've ever written and the longest I've ever taken to write a book, over 2 years and 5 years, including the research. I read all the biographies of all these people. I knew them. I knew them. Boy, I was thinking about them. They were in me, and they were talking and having scenes in my head when I'm driving the car, which is way better than listening to the news.
Yeah.
Thinking about your wonderful characters, what they think and want to do, and most of that didn't actually get to the page, right? I was just filling myself, and that's fun, and that's when it becomes fun, and sometimes, you accomplish some good things, and I really feel that about that. That's why I'm actually doing this. I've never really promoted a book before, and after writing 19 other books, this one I said, okay, this is one that I could try to let the world awaken to.
Whenever I would read a biography, whether it be on an author or a musician or even an artist, it seems like I get an extra insight into who they are and into the story or the painting or even the song that I hear. Is that what you found?
And well, yes, absolutely. And as I said, I got to know them. It's not like, right, I don't necessarily think that what a writer intends, right, it's manifested on the page. I think it sometimes the author is the last person to know what they've done. But then when you inspect their lives, you can draw the connection. Is I mean, famous connections is that Mary Shelley's mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, died just after childbirth because Mary Shelley was born. And a lot of people find that in a tremendous insight into why she created at age 19 Frankenstein. Wow. That's that's a she invented genres of sci-fi and horror and things that and so that um so there that's right. That's insight. And you certainly can look at Byron's life, which is pretty wild. I mean, he did whatever he wanted to, and with whomever he wanted to. Um, and if you read something like Don Juan, which just blew me away because it's so much fun, and he's so irreverent that you could understand why he was so popular. And then you get more and more insights, like the rivalry with Shelley that he had, and which eventually led to Shelley's death by in that storm, that sailing rivalry with Byron, and Byron's passion against colonialism. The British lifting the statues from the Parthenon and taking them, to England. He was opposed to that radically. He was even in Parliament, fought for it, but then it led to his patriotism for Greece, right? And he goes to Greece to fight against the Turks. So you see why. And so I think that's true. I'm not a big biography reader, but I have recently I read the biography of the recent one of Leonard Cohen, and that was fascinating because he does he's an interesting lyricist, maybe one of the best. Certainly, maybe he should have got the Nobel instead of Dylan.
Right.
But awards are really hard to explain. So my answer to you is yes. You learn a lot, and it really helps. And the more the more it can come out your hands. One of my brothers in New York City is a painter,
Mm-hmm.
and he studied forms and bones and muscles and the dynamic and psychology of color. And he said, well, but when you face that blank canvas, it comes out your hands. You paint with your hands. You can't paint with all those ideas. You have to paint with your hands. And that was a real insight for me in terms of that's why I sat around with all those books. But in this case, when I needed a line of dialogue from Keats, I could pick up his books and read some poems. And say, yeah, that's what he'd say, and I put that in the book. So you can read a lot of poetry in this book without knowing it. You could feel it, though. You could feel it. Keats is a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful mind and a beautiful writer.
Do you have a website?
Yes, chuckrosenthal.com, and you can order the book through there. You can put your phone up to the little square and it'll order your book. And my other 19 books are on display there. I don't know how many, a lot of them. and take a look at some of the other work because some of it's fantastic and fun. I am, for the most part, a fabulous writer. I don't write the genre of fantasy, but I certainly have people who can fly, and miracles that can happen in front of your face. And so, yes, thank you for asking. Because
Of course.
I don't promote myself enough. Here's something that I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to show my book. There. That's what I learned from my manager. Show your book, Awake Forever in a Sweet Unrest, and repeat the title. So
Well, I actually have a copy coming in the mail for me, so I'm looking forward to getting it and reading it.
You can sit down in an afternoon and read this book if you choose. It'll just go that fast.
Mr. Rosenthal, thank you so much for spending your time with me. This has really been an honor.
Well, it's been an honor for me. I'm glad to meet you and encounter you and your audience. Thanks.
You got it. And I will put your links in the description to make it easier for folks to find you. Again, thank you. And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button from our regulars. You guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. And until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network